Maddie from Madeline Intimates here. If you're unfamiliar with Madeline Intimates, we are a Philadelphia-based lingerie company offering DIY lingerie kits, bra making workshops, both in person and online, as well as ready-made lingerie. With the holidays coming up, you might be thinking about getting a new serger or a new cover stitch machine, or you might be upgrading your old one. What's great about Madeline Studios is that we have a range of PFAFF sewing machines, sergers, and cover stitch machines so that you can try each one on an actual garment instead of a swatch at a dealer. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the Admire 1000, the Admire Air 5000, and the Coverlock 4.0. Now, the best serger is going to depend on your sewing needs as well as budget, and I tried to take each one of that into account when I did this comparison. I'm going to do a close-up of each video, a close-up of each machine. I'm going to show you what we use it most often for, and then we'll do a little demo of an actual stitch. But I tried to keep in mind budget and then specific needs when comparing all the machines. In my personal opinion, the best serger or cover stitch machine isn't too complicated and is intuitive to use, all of which PFAFF sewing machines, sergers, and cover stitch machines are. Before we get into the comparison, I want to go over what the difference is between a serger and a sewing machine. You might be stumbling on this video and thinking, what is a serger? I have a sewing machine. So a serger is a type of sewing machine. Basically, it will finish your seam allowances. It is a type of sewing machine. A sewing machine is considered a lock stitch machine. So there is a top thread and a bottom thread that come together and lock and form a stitch. Most sewing machines have a top thread and a bottom thread, and they do the basic straight stitches and zigzag stitches. A lot of them nowadays come with decorative stitches, and you could have a machine with 300 decorative stitches. But almost all of them come with a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. Now, a serger doesn't have a bobbin, so the stitch is formed by a series of loops. So you can have up to 4 threads. Usually it's between, there's an upper looper and a lower looper. Cover stitch, the same thing. It is a type of sewing machine. Usually you have 2 lines of straight stitches on the top of your fabric and then loops on the bottom. This is used mostly for activewear when applying like an elastic band to the bottom of a sports bra or an elastic band to the top of a waistline on a legging. It's also used a lot in lingerie for boxers or boy shorts where you're attaching an elastic band onto a panty or a bralette. So let's get into our comparison. Okay, so the first machine that we're going to go over is the PFAFF Admire 1000. This is a basic entry-level serger. It usually retails for about $5.99. It will depend on your dealer. It can hold up to 4 threads. What I love most, before I get into the sewing, what I love most about this machine is that threading a serger can be such a nightmare, but what's great about the Admire 1000 is that you can actually open it on both sides. So in most sergers, you can only open this side, and there are little guides to guide the thread into the other needles. But with this, you can open it up, you can see everything. There is a really clear threading guide, so you just match up the colors with the thread guides for where each one should go. So it really isn't too difficult. Having this being able to be opened on the other side is so helpful. The other thing that I really like about it is that it has a built-in seam guide. So this becomes really helpful when sewing things. You need to know like how wide something is. Basically what you have on your sewing machine, you have on your serger, which not a lot of sergers have this. So we use this mostly for just straight serging seam allowances. Okay, so there is a demo of the serge that we usually use. It is a 4-thread overlock. We use this to serge seam allowances. Moving on to the next one is the PFAFF Admire Air 5000. Now, what differentiates the Admire Air from the Admire 1000? The biggest difference is that it has an air threader. I have a separate video on what an air threader is and how to air thread this machine, but the biggest difference is that instead of having to manually thread all of this, you basically stick the loopers into 2 different tubes, and you press this lever, and boom, all the threads will come out on the other end, which is a game changer. This one retails for about $14.99. Again, it will depend on your dealer. And what we use this actually mostly for is that we use a very narrow serging thread to hem some of our slips at the bottom with delicate fabrics. It's a lot easier than doing a baby hem or doing just a rolled hem, which this machine can do, but we just use a really narrow serge. So here is a really pretty narrow serge that we use at the bottom of slips, and it's just so much easier than doing a normal hem. You get a lot of directional sewing, especially on silks. Moving on to the last machine is the Coverlock 4.0. This retails for about $17.99, and what I love about this is that it can do a cover stitch, it can do a flat lock as well as a serge. So it does different stitches within this machine. We use it mostly for sewing activewear, and we use a cover stitch. What's great about this machine is that when you switch between the threads, it will tell you what you need to do to the machine, what needles you need to have, what foot you need to have, so it makes it easier so that you don't have to consult your user manual for that. Let me do a little demo of the cover stitch. So the top thread, there are 2 lines of stitching, and then the bottom thread, there are a series of loops.